But let's talk to a former Labour Party spokesman, James Mathewson, about all of these stories. Very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thank you very much. It's a funny thing when these things are the light relief on a story day like this. Let's talk about planning, first of all, because the government, Angela Rayner in particular, as the Housing Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister, has announced these big planning reforms. This is something, of course, that the Tory party talked about doing and then turned up. An awful lot of Tory MPs in the Shires were rather unhappy about planning reforms that made it easier to build on our green and pleasant land, even when actually a lot of it is just a bit grey and brown and pretty dilapidated and people are desperately in need of homes. Do you think that Labour, now with quite a lot of MPs in those areas they didn't expect to have, will backtrack the same way the Tories did? Or do you think they'll stand firm and actually build that 1.5 million homes that they said they'd build?
I don't think they're going to backtrack on any of it, and the reason why I have that faith is because Angela Rayner's at the helm of it, and I don't know Angie to be somebody who backtracks on things. I do think this is a very interesting issue, and as you point out, and it's, again, I have to say, it's not just former Tory governments, it's been governments for many, many years. I mean, the planning system hasn't really been overhauled since the 1960s, 1970s. It's not fit for purpose.
No, I mean, anyone who's worried about their view out of their kitchen window or the lesser spotted newt gets to have a say over whether an entirely new housing development goes ahead or not.
Well, this is exactly it. I mean, I was sitting, I'm not kidding you, an hour ago I was sitting here and I got in my Edinburgh tenement flat, I got a letter through the door, an anonymous letter from a neighbour who wants us all to oppose together the conversion of a Domino's pizza to a Pizza Hut pizza shop on the street below us, because apparently their pizzas are different and it's not right and we shouldn't be accepting them in the community. This is the kind of objections that people see in
That's
community.
mad, isn't it? I mean, look, we've been talking about this all morning, and I think one of the big issues is actually a lot of the infrastructure surrounding often new housing developments isn't put in place. There aren't new doctors' surgeries, there aren't new roads built, whether it's new prisons or new housing developments. But also a lot of these things are just incredibly ugly, and people don't want to put up with the noise and the mess and the destruction and the dirt and deal with all that for 5 years to then have a horribly ugly housing estate at the end of the road. I mean, one of the things I think they've just changed was the idea was there was supposed to be a rule that, new estates, new builds had to be beautiful. They actually had to look nice. And they're kind of taking that out of the new law. That's going to be a worry, isn't it?
Yeah, I tell you who should be in charge of this in a similar way to them bringing Timpson in on justice. They should bring George Clark in,
Who's George Clark?
He's the chap who does the TV you got to be across this, Julia. The TV programmes on Amazing Spaces.
All right, no, I've got a job.
He talks about it's on in the evenings, I assure you. And you can catch up.
Listen, if there's a dating show on Netflix, I will find the time to watch it. But
exactly.
But we need people who want to. My rule is, architects should never be allowed to design homes that they wouldn't themselves be willing to live in. That would be my rule.
That is a very good rule. But yeah, people like George Clark who've advocated for a long time for even things like social housing. Why does social housing need to be ugly?
Yeah.
It should be beautiful, it should be good. We have the capabilities, we have the technologies to make things cheap but also make things look good and make them
and we don't do it.
No.
Can I say we also have the technology and the ability to run things in government, it would seem, without 10,000 civil servants who apparently are going to face the chop. We've got 1 minute, we've got the government telling us that the civil service are really are not doing a very good job. Then the cabinet minister is sent out to defend the civil service, and now we're told 10,000 of them are going to be axed. Which are they any good? Are they any use or not?
They're trying to be balanced on this because they don't want to look like they're waging a war on the civil service. That's not what they want to try and do at all, because as we know, what happens then is the levers of state grind to a halt, and all the things that we're talking about doing here, with the planning system, any policy that they're trying to get passed is not going to work if civil servants are digging their heels in.
Well, this is the madness we're in this country. The clue is in the name: civil servant, not civil master. The idea that any civil servant would dig their heels and refuse to do the bidding of a democratically elected minister, whether I voted for them or not, they should be sacked on the spot.
I mean, you would think the frustration, I can understand the frustration on both sides. If you're an expert in a field and you've been in that office for 35 years and you know everything about that, then all of a sudden some junior minister turns up on the doorstep who was elected, a couple of weeks ago and before that has no experience whatsoever in the field, and they're telling you exactly what the political direction is going to be. There's frustration.
I don't. Well, then go and work somewhere else if you don't like it. Your job is to advise. Yeah. And then to do as you're told. That's the job. The civil service is not independent, it's not politically neutral, and it doesn't act as a servant of the state. And I don't have to agree or disagree with or vote for any particular party. But once they're the government, they've got a democratic mandate to do stuff. Civil servant, they tried to block Brexit as hard as they could. They tried to block pretty much any measure which any Tory government had tried when it came to things like immigration. And now they're trying to block, I'm going to guess they're going to end up trying to block a load of the planning as well, if you ask me. I mean, it is extraordinary that people in government would just put up with this. It's instant, just to be instant, sacked on the spot.
Yeah, and it's a challenge for any government to try and get around and work.
Well, it shouldn't be.
Find a way to deal with it.
It shouldn't be.
This is why the looking at these jobs and seeing who needs to be in them, which jobs are essential and which are not, because it's long been known by everyone that the civil service is bloated, whether you like it or not. As a function of state, it is bloated and it's got lots of people into it. One of the reasons for that, by the way, is because graduates coming out of universities, with these top degrees, who can't bear the thought of going back to their hometown and working in a supermarket, are all joining the fast track program. And that takes you straight into the civil service, moves you around several departments, then parks you in Whitehall eventually. So, we are getting so many people coming at the civil service because it's one of the few places you can still get paid well for what you do.
You can only get a job in the civil service if they're still hiring. And I think we've just added hundreds of thousands of civil servants, I think, in recent years. And yet our services appear to have ground to a halt. So I would say 10,000 ain't nearly enough. Bring on Elon Musk and Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. That's what we need. I think that would buck everyone's ideas up very quickly, and also get them back into the office. If your boss says you're in the office, you're in the sodding office.
Well, Jacob Rees-Mogg tried that, didn't he? Toured the offices like a Victorian kind of factory master. He tried to get everybody in.
No, like an employer expecting his employees to be at work.
We should be promoting flexible employment.
Oh, for God's sake.
We should be starting with the government, because they are the ones who set the example of that. So I'm not.
There's flexible working at the beginning and end of the day for parents of young children who need to get them in and out of nursery. That's it. Just for people who are disabled. I don't see why everyone else should be sitting on their backsides on their sofas. If you want that job and someone wants to give you that job, that's fine. If you work in the civil service and your boss has said, I want you back in the office, or whichever job you do, I want you back in the office, you go back to the office or leave. There are your options. This is what Elon Musk did at X. Back in the office or you're gone. Bye-bye. Make the choice. I'll see you on Monday morning.
I don't think Elon Musk is the best example to look at.
Really? Elon Musk, a self-made multi-billionaire, a man who has sent rockets into space, a man who can is more efficient and better at his job than NASA when it comes to building rockets, built the biggest, most successful green car, been a part of, was it PayPal as well? You think that we've got nothing to learn from Elon Musk? But by God, some idiot sitting on their backside in their spare room who's got some pretend paper-pushing job in Whitehall, whose public sector pay and pension we're paying for, they definitely know better than Elon Musk. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, the people that Elon Musk's hired have been very intelligent and very clever over the years, of course, and money allows you to do that. But he's not a self-made man. You're not self-made when your parents had emerald mines in South Africa.
He didn't start off as a millionaire, mate. He went to America and made his fortune by being brilliant at what he does. There's a possibility he might have something useful to tell us.
I mean, our definition of brilliance is different, and perhaps we should agree to disagree.
You don't think that someone who can build a rocket better than NASA can is brilliant?
No, I don't think Elon Musk can build a rocket on his own. Elon Musk cannot build a rocket.
Technically, no one can build a rocket on their own. They need other people to do it. But people who are able to have the go-to knowledge and the ability to pull teams together and inspire them and get them to do it better and cheaper than NASA can do it, I think are probably quite brilliant.
not what many of his former employees and indeed current employees say about him and his practices as well. But I mean, at the same time, I don't
Oh,
think
someone didn't like the long working hours and they've left. Oh,
I don't
boo-hoo.
think I don't think we need billionaires telling us how to run our government in Britain. I
No,
don't think it's
well, we do need millionaires to give our Prime Minister clothes to wear, apparently.
well, millionaire. I mean,
Oh, millionaires are okay.
Millionaires.
We don't like the We only like the millionaires. If you get too successful, then you're just useless.
Yeah, billionaires shouldn't exist. Millionaires,
Billionaires shouldn't exist. You genuinely believe, don't you? You genuinely believe that if someone's very rich, they've taken money from the poor, don't you?
There is no way under this current system of capitalism, Julia, to make billions without exploiting some
Exploiting.
workforce.
What about... I mean, I've got an iPhone here, yeah? God knows what it cost. I bought it of money that I earned myself, and I paid for a more expensive phone because I think it's really, really good, OK? Someone made that and sold it to me, and I chose to do it. Who's been exploited?
Well, I mean, that's not...
That's how they made billions. That's how they made billions. That's how Apple made billions, because people wanted to buy their product. Who's being exploited?
It's not the system that I'm talking about.
You just said there's no one. If you're a billionaire, you must be exploiting people.
Yeah, because of workforces and how they manage their workforce. Similar Jeff Bezos and Amazon, we all know that, and we choose to...
But not every billionaire does. Do you think James Dyson
Can't
does?
be a billionaire. There's no way
James
to be
Dyson?
a billionaire. I don't think it's exclusive. Taylor Swift, I'd say, even as a billionaire, she's charging too much for her tickets if she's a billionaire.
But people don't. Profit. You don't have a right to go to a Taylor Swift concert.
Well, you don't have a right,
unless you're the Prime Minister, of course. I mean, you keep walking into these things, James.
I'm not here to defend Keir Starmer going to Taylor Swift concerts, but at the same time, I do not believe that billionaires in our world should exist in a world where people cannot feed themselves, cannot clothe themselves through their circumstance of their birth, that some people in the world should have so much disposable income that they want to send themselves.
But they should just give all that money away to people who for some reason can't afford to feed themselves.
Listen, it might be...
There's no one in this country who can't afford to feed themselves.
I do not believe someone should have that much excess in income that they can never spend in their entire lifetime when other people are starving to death.
You know what I think those people should do?
That's just my belief.
I think they should offer to be my second husband, but that's just me. I love my husband, but come on. James Mathewson, extraordinary.